come in? Are you having a little trouble regenerating?
My alcove is functioning properly. I am having trouble with the nature of individuality.
There's a time and a place for philosophical discussion. 2 in the morning in my quarters isn't one of them. But I'll tell you what, meet me in the mess hall tomorrow.
Tomorrow will be too late. We'll have already rewritten the doctor's program by then.
And violated his rights as an individual.
Precisely.
If you've come to act as my conscience, you're a little late. I considered these issues 18 months ago, as I did again this morning. I came to the same conclusion.
Your conclusion is wrong.
Coffee. Black. Lukewarm. Now, I've told that replicator a dozen times about the temperature of my coffee. It just doesn't seem to want to listen. Almost as if it's got a mind of its own. But it doesn't. A replicator operates through a series of electronic pathways that allow it to receive instructions and take appropriate action. And there you go, a cup of coffee. A bowl of soup, a plasma conduit, whatever we tell it to do. As difficult as it is to accept, the doctor is more like that replicator than he is like us.
He would disagree.
I'm sure he would, but I can't let that change my decision. I learned that the hard way, when his program almost self-destructed. I won't take that risk again.
The risk isn't yours to take.
If one of my crew chose to put a phaser to his own head, should I let him?
It would depend on the situation.
It always depends on the situation, Seven. But we can debate philosophy another time.
When you separated me from the collective, I was an unknown risk to your crew. Yet you kept me on board. You allowed me to evolve into an individual.
You're a human being. He's a hologram.
And you allowed that hologram to evolve as well, to exceed his original programming. And yet now you choose to abandon him.
Objection noted. Good night.
It is unsettling. You say that I am a human being, and yet I am also Borg. Part of me not unlike your replicator. Not unlike the doctor. Will you one day choose to abandon me as well? I have always looked to you as my example, my guide to humanity. Perhaps I've been mistaken. Good night.
So 7 and 9 had something to say. So it's not shown, but they end up deciding not to erase his memories. And he ends up being able to work through it and becomes a better individual, better entity because of it. All right, let's move to our last scenario. This is from Star Trek Enterprise, Season 3, Episode 10. It's called Similitude. And this was suggested by Mike the Trekkie. They say, Similitude posed an interesting question. Grow a clone of a crew member, then perform a fatal operation to harvest an organ from that clone that will save the actual crewman. Was it the right thing to do? I gave y'all a spoiler before we started, but so let's start. So a little bit of context. The NX-01 Enterprise, there's lots of enterprises, this one's different, is trapped in an entity of space. They cannot get out of it. It's absolutely black. They don't know where they're going. And so they're trying to get out as fast as they can to complete their missions. So right here, Trip Tucker, the engineer, is tasked with trying to make the Warp 5 engine go faster so they can get out of this expanse. In the process of all this happening, the engine explodes and he is fatally injured. But Dr. Phlox, who is the Denobulan doctor, says he has an idea. He has a larva organism that can be grown into a clone. And so he says it's not going to feel the greatest morally, but we can grow a clone and we can harvest the organs and we can save Trip Tucker. And the way that they get around this is they say, well, this larva clone only lives 10 days, grows super fast, it's going to die anyways. That's how we can feel better about this situation. So they do it. And this clone, obviously, it only has a lifespan of 10 days, grows very quickly, becomes a child, interacts with the crew, starts forming memories. Interestingly enough, has some of the same memories as the actual Trip Tucker. This clone, by the way, they named Sim. So I'll give that for context. So then disaster strikes once again. Turns out Dr. Phlox was wrong. This clone is going to live much longer than 10 days. And the clone has thoughts. He finds out, obviously, Sim finds out that he's going to live longer. And he says, well, I want to live. I don't want to donate my organs so this other guy can fix the ship. I'm a person. And so he starts interacting, coming to the sickbay to see Trip Tucker. And Captain Archer is faced with a difficult decision. So yes, Sim has some of the same memories as Trip Tucker, the engineer. But are they, them getting out of this expanse is priority one. Are they going to wait for this clone to develop all the knowledge that he needs to be able to get them out? Or are we going to do the unfortunate? So what's the thought? Are you going to allow Sim to live and not donate that tissue that Trip Tucker needs? Because he wishes that. He's a person. He might be a clone, but he's a person. Or do you sacrifice him because the mission, Trip Tucker, you need that engineer who is lying in sickbay. You need him right now. So who's going to save Sim? Okay. Who puts duty over the individual? Who's going to save the ship? Yes, you have a question. Mm-hmm. He's still going to need time to heal, but that, oh, sorry, I'll repeat the question. So the question was, after they do the procedure that is the organ donation, is he going to heal right away and be able to fix everything, or is it going to take time? He still will take time to heal, but it's going to still be faster than trying to teach a clone how to build an engine. So that's a good question. Does anyone have any other thoughts about something you do? Oh, we have other thoughts? Okay, what do we think?
Even the, I don't remember the name of the original guy that says transplanting memories and stuff with the technology.
Oh, so go backwards. So take Trip Tucker's memories and try to put them into Sim. Okay, that's an interesting thought. I've not heard that one before.
In that case, why do they eliminate that process from the beginning? So like you say, you can bring the clone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have the technology, they can only grow the whole itself instead of the whole clone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Enterprise, when the show takes place, this is before the original series. So this is their first time venturing into space. So the technology is limited. But that is a good thought, especially when we move like into further iterations of Star Trek where we are doing mind mapping and all that. It's a good thought. Yes.
So the best alternative was to grow the clone in the first place under sedation, never let it develop personality.
Ooh, that's a good thought. So for the live stream, keep the clone sedated. Don't let it interact. Don't form relationships with it. Yes. Ooh, okay. So go again, make another clone. That would work, except for he only has one of these larva things that grows into a clone. But still, good thought. Yes. Oh. I suppose. Yeah, good thought. Okay, so let's find out. We had a lot of hypotheses, so let's find out what actually happened. So this is Captain Archer figuring out what to do.
It'll take a day to synthesize the enzyme. By that time, your neural tissue won't be compatible with Tripp's anymore. He'll die.
I know.
I can't let that happen.
So what are you gonna do? Drag me down to sick bay? Force me onto a biobed at gunpoint?
If you truly have all of Trip's memories, you know the answer to that. I don't have to tell you what's at stake. I must complete this mission. And to do that, I need Trip. Trip! I'll take whatever steps necessary to save him.
Even if it means killing me.
Even if it means killing you.
You're not a murderer.
Don't make me one.
All right. So Captain Archer takes a little bit of a dark turn where they do. This is like weird because most of the situations ends up being the good one. They do sacrifice him. So, yeah, kind of heavy for Star Trek, but they do end up sacrificing Sim. That's also a similar situation in my last Nerd Night where it was two Vics, where two people were combined into one person, and Captain Janeway had to pick whether to let that new person live or to split them up. And she ended up essentially killing the new thing for the other two. So sometimes Star Trek can get dark. And like I said, a lot of these situations, there's no right answer. And I don't know what I would have done if I were presented with some of these situations. But Star Trek can be heavy at sometimes and have heavy morality themes, but there are also times where Star Trek is fun, like this one where they encounter Abraham Lincoln in space, just randomly floating around. They also find Amelia Earhart, who was abducted by aliens and shows up on this planet. And then also the newest episode of Is It Cake? With Deanna Troi as a cake, cellular peptide cake, actually. So that is it from me. There's many more scenarios that I could obviously plug in here. So like I said, I've done many iterations of this talk, not just here at Nerd Night. It's so crazy how easy it is to just like go through the episodes and be like, this one will be great. This one will be great. So if you haven't watched Star Trek before, I definitely recommend it. Where to start is a different question. I'm wondering if anyone will ask me that, but yeah, let's open it up to Q&A. Does anyone have any questions? Oh. All right, Rachel.
Who's your favorite character in Star Trek?
Her name is Ensign Ro. She's from Star Trek The Next Generation. She's a Bajoran, which I mentioned in the beginning is my favorite species. I actually cosplay as her a lot. So if you want to see that cosplay, you can check out my social medias. But yes, she's kind of like feisty and like everything I kind of wanted to be as a child. I was kind of like reserved and all that. So she inspired me to be more bold. So yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Oh, that's a good question. So the Bajorans, oh yes, sorry, for the live stream. I was asked why the Bajorans were my favorite race. And I would say this race is from, you do see it in The Next Generation, but primarily they're in Deep Space Nine. They're a very religious race, which is interesting because in Star Trek, a lot of it is based on science and technology. So like the adaptation of kind of folding in religion to that, they worship these deities called the prophets, which actually, I mean, they never really find out what they are, but like there's a wormhole nearby and there's aliens that live in this wormhole that can do crazy things. And those are the prophets and they worship them. But they're deeply spiritual. They're very feisty. They were under an occupation by another race for a long time where they were absolutely exploited. So they're coming off of being essentially slaves. So they're learning how to rebuild their society. So that's probably why. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? Okay. Well, cool. If anyone's interested, it's not a huge deal, but I brought some stickers with my logo on it. If you want a sticker, feel free to take one. If not, no sweat. Live long and prosper, of course, because, you know, that's what we all do. And then obviously one of my other favorites is infinite diversity and infinite combinations, which is a Vulcan proverb, which essentially means our diversity makes us stronger. So yeah, thank you very much. Oh, okay. Ooh, that's a great question. The question was, how is Star Trek currently affecting my life? So I'm going to refer to like, when COVID was really bad, it definitely was something I could lean on, where I was learning about these morality stories, watching these shows, watching these characters come up against, difficult situations. And like I said, they're not always winning. And so that's always good to see. I feel like sometimes we watch television shows and we always want the happy ending, but that's not how it always works in real life. And so to see that crews are faced with situations in which like they are really impacted by it, and they're not coming off saying, oh, everything's great and happy. They're like, I literally just ruined the civilization, or like something happened that really affected me. And so I like that Star Trek doesn't glaze over that it acknowledges the good and the bad of civilization. And, that's kind of what the world that we live in. So that's my answer. Yeah. So cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ali. And thank you to all of our speakers tonight. Can we give them another round of applause? Thank you. That wraps us up for tonight. Can we also have one more round of applause for the great staff of ETC? And like I said tonight, the live stream would not have been possible without Scotty. So thank you, Scotty. You're awesome. And Nerd Night will be back on September 9th, next month. If you are interested in being a speaker, please reach out. And have a great night. Thank you.